in Mago Reddit. Today's story is
My daughter excluded me from her wedding for not paying for it in full. 3 months later, she discovered what her father-in-law and I knew all along. I am 55 years old, and I have worked hard all my life to achieve what I have. My 22-year-old daughter, Luna, is my only child, and I have always tried to give her the best. During her upbringing, I did everything I could to provide her with a good life, from attending her school events to supporting her emotionally through the ups and downs that life presents. Luna has always been a dreamer, and it's a quality that I really appreciate in her. However, sometimes those dreams can cloud her judgment. Lately, I've noticed that she's more obsessed with material things, like planning the perfect wedding, instead of focusing on what's really important, marrying the person you love. She often gets wrapped up in what she thinks she deserves, instead of seeing reality as it is. I understand that Luna is still young, and I understand her enthusiasm for this new stage in her life, but sometimes it's hard for her to see the big picture and understand that things don't always turn out the way we want them to, no matter how much we long for it. Luna is engaged to Jackson, a 24-year-old man who is a good boy. I have known him for a long time, and they seem to be a good couple. Honestly, I like him as a son-in-law. Jackson comes from a wealthy family, especially his father, Lawrence, who is also 55. Lawrence and I have been friends since childhood. We grew up in the same small town, and our families were very close. Even when our lives took different paths, we kept in touch. He has always been a kind person, and I admire his dedication and achievements. That has allowed him to be well off financially today. Lawrence has always been a father figure to Luna. Her real father died when she was just a baby, so Lawrence took on that role. He took good care of her and was there for her, whether it was helping her with school or giving her advice. He loved her as if she were his own daughter, and she trusted him completely. As Luna grew older, Lawrence remained an important part of her life. He provided her with support when she needed it and always wanted the best for her. Even when they had disagreements, his affection for her never diminished. When Luna started dating Jackson, I was happy for her. I could see that they really cared for each other, and I thought they made a good couple. Besides, there was no better man for her than Lawrence's son, who looks a lot like his father, so I thought she was in good hands. After dating for a while, they talked about marriage, and that's when things took a turn that I didn't like so much. It all started when Luna came to see me one afternoon and, very directly, told me that she expected me to pay for the wedding. I was surprised because I didn't even have any idea how much they were planning to spend, and I had assumed that I would be helping her. So I asked her about the budget, and she told me that she had an unrealistic celebration in mind. I was surprised, but I tried to keep calm. I told her that I could contribute $25,000. I felt it was a generous amount, enough to cover a good part of the wedding, but not so much as to affect my savings or cause me financial problems. Luna not only rejected the $25,000, but said that this proposal was an insult to her. She said that as the mother of the bride, she should bear 100% of the cost of the wedding, which was the least she could do if she wanted to make her happy. Then she said something typical of a spoiled person. My fiancé's father is rich enough to take care of this. Why should I settle for less than I deserve? I felt that Luna was more focused on the wedding itself than on our relationship. She went on to say that if I couldn't give her the wedding she dreamed of, then I'd better get used to the idea that she wouldn't want me there. She was choosing an idealized and expensive version of her wedding over our bond. I tried to explain to her that, although I loved her and wanted to contribute, I simply couldn't afford everything. It wasn't possible. But for Luna, it was the whole wedding or nothing. She wouldn't listen. She said that if I couldn't do something like that for my daughter, then Lawrence could take care of everything, but not to expect my invitation. She said she would rather have a celebration where there wasn't someone like me there, someone so stingy that they can't pay for the wedding their daughter deserves. I replied that the wedding she deserved at that moment was a $0 one, because I wasn't looking like a bride someone would want to marry, but like a capricious and demanding bride. After that, Luna went ahead with planning the wedding. She clearly had a big celebration in mind, and I guess she thought Lawrence would step in and pay for everything. After all, she thought it was only fair that Jackson's rich father should cover the cost, since he could afford it. I backed off. I didn't really care if I wasn't going to be invited. I needed some distance from all this, and I wasn't going to beg my daughter to invite me if she didn't want me there. However, as the wedding day approached, problems began to arise. Luna and Jackson approached Lawrence, thinking he would simply pay for the whole wedding. But Lawrence, who has worked hard for everything he has, said no. He said he was happy for the couple, but that he wasn't going to pay for an over-the-top wedding, especially since he hadn't been consulted about any of the plans. He was also disappointed that I was being excluded from the wedding. At first, Luna didn't know how to respond to this. She was surprised, frustrated, and honestly, a little angry. Jackson was also upset, but he took it a little better. I guess they were somehow expecting this outcome. Even so, I could tell they were both disappointed. It was becoming clear that their expectations would not be met because no one was willing to pay for my daughter's extravagant demands. Even with my $25,000, they could have organized a big wedding with lots of guests and good food. It just wasn't going to have any extravagant elements or be a wedding worthy of a Disney princess. Time passed and they were still planning the wedding without adjusting anything. Luna and Jackson were still looking for a way to get the money for the wedding they had planned. Their options were running out and the chosen date was approaching. Suddenly, Luna contacted me. She called and apologized for how she had treated me. She admitted that she had been too focused on the idea of having a dream wedding and had pushed me away. She said that Lawrence wasn't going to help, and now she needed me. She begged me to step in and help cover the cost, telling me that without my support, they wouldn't be able to make the wedding happen. But she wasn't asking for the money from my initial offer. She wasn't willing to make compromises on the wedding and adjust it to a realistic budget. She wanted me to put up all the money. Not only had she treated me badly, but she had threatened not to invite me because she thought her father-in-law would pay for everything. But now she was practically on her knees, begging me to please help her. I told her no, that I wasn't going to pay for the whole wedding, that I had even withdrawn my initial offer because she had dismissed it as if it were worthless. Believe me, $25,000 is a lot of money for me, and I consider it to have been a more than generous offer. But if she dismissed it, there are better uses for that money. This did not go down at all well. Luna immediately started making a scene. She was angry, shouting, crying, and probably kicking as well. I had never heard her speak to me like that before. I felt that all the respect we had for each other disappeared in an instant. Luna can be as upset as she wants, but I can't allow her to treat me the way she did and then come back demanding what she thinks she's entitled to. There are consequences for the decisions we make, and she is living out hers. Now Luna and Jackson are still trying to figure out how to pay for the wedding. Update 1. Luna and Jackson got married last month. It was the wedding Luna had always dreamed of. From what I understand, it was a big event. Everything she had dreamed of and more. They had an over-the-top celebration with a beautiful venue, gorgeous flowers, and basically expensive stuff. Neither Lawrence nor I attended the wedding. I wasn't invited, and to be honest, after everything that had happened, I wasn't surprised. I'm not going to say it doesn't hurt and act strong, but there are principles, and I'm not going to break them, just so my daughter can be happy with something crazy like this. But the wedding isn't what's important now, it's what came after. It all has to do with financial difficulties that I wanted to avoid for myself, but Luna and Jackson couldn't. We always want better things, a bigger house, a more luxurious car, and a wedding with everything that money can buy. I understand that. But I also understand that you have to keep your feet on the ground and stick to a budget. The wedding is just one day, and then you have the rest of your life. You can't go into debt forever. But that's what they did. From what I've heard, Luna and Jackson borrowed almost $100,000 from someone of dubious reputation. They didn't go to a bank or a legitimate lender because they couldn't. They turned to someone whose interests were incredibly high. I could understand something like this if you needed the money for an emergency, but a wedding is not in the definition of one. If they cared about getting married, they could have flown to Las Vegas and spent very little. They could even have been married by the judge if they felt extravagant. But no, they wanted the luxury wedding, and now they have luxury debt. Luna wanted the big celebration. She wanted the dress, the venue, the flowers, the guests, and the perfect day. And Jackson, despite his better judgment, seemed to go along with it. It wasn't just about the wedding anymore. It was about keeping up appearances and giving Luna everything she wanted, even if it meant getting seriously into debt. They took out a loan, probably without realizing how it would affect them in the long term. Now they are struggling with that debt, and every day is a fight to make ends meet. They both have 2 jobs now, struggling to pay off the loan and manage the bills. Luna works in a cafe and has also taken on some freelance projects. Jackson is picking up shifts where he can, but it's still not enough. Their financial situation is a disaster. Now they are learning that money comes at a cost. Unfortunately, things have only gotten worse since the wedding. They haven't had a moment's rest. They are both physically, emotionally, and financially exhausted. They got a perfect day, only to have a miserable life. The beautiful wedding they imagined has turned into a daily nightmare. We have talked about this with Lawrence, and although we both believe that the situation could not be any worse for them, we are not thinking of helping them either. In my case, I cannot cover that kind of debt, even if I wanted to. It is far above my savings. While for Lawrence it is not such a high figure, it is not one with which he feels comfortable either. Although what we feel least comfortable with is the fact that we are responsible for what they have done. So even if they asked us for help, at the moment, there is little we are willing to do. Update 2. A week ago, I received a voice message from Luna. She asked me to meet her. She said she had some things that I had lent her, and she wanted to return them to me. It's true that I had lent her some things, but I knew it wasn't just about that. The meeting point was a cafe that we both knew because we had gone there together in the past. We used to go when she was younger, but not so much lately, and not at all in the last few months. When I arrived, she was already waiting for me with a cup of coffee. But I didn't get to take off my coat when she burst into tears, which was awkward because everyone was watching. Maybe if I had done it quietly, but I don't know how to explain it, I was crying loudly. You probably know what I mean. I was prepared for a difficult conversation, but I didn't expect it to start so soon. I was hoping to at least have my coffee in my hand and some sandwich before, but she took me completely by surprise. At first, she didn't say anything, she just kept sobbing. I felt very sad because I hadn't been able to order, and no waitress was going to come over to the table if she saw the state of my daughter. I was going to think, I'd better leave them alone, while I thought, I'm going to need a double coffee and a triple sandwich for this. I was sitting in front of her, but I didn't know what to do. Whether to say hello, ask her for my things and leave, or pat her on the back. It wasn't my best moment as a mother, but she wasn't the best daughter, and crying wasn't going to change that. Until she finally spoke, saying that I ruined everything, that if I had paid for everything as she asked, she wouldn't have the life she has now. Of course I did. I was the one who spent money I didn't have on a wedding. Oh no, that's right, it was her. We could play the blame game, but I was going to lose before we started. I tried to stay calm, but it was difficult. I tried to explain that she was an adult and that all the decisions she made were her responsibility, not mine. I reminded her that I had offered a more than generous $25,000 to help with the wedding, but that I couldn't even buy a wedding invitation with that. She accused me of never having cared about her, of only caring about myself. She said that if I had paid for everything, I wouldn't have had to take out a loan. If I hadn't taken out a loan, I wouldn't have had to work so many hours. If I hadn't had to work so many hours, her marriage would have been better. If her marriage would have been better, her hair wouldn't have been falling out from stress. She said that she didn't love me, that she hadn't supported me like a mother should. She insisted that if I had given her more money, more help, more of everything, then everything would have been perfect. Yes, perfect for her. It wouldn't have been perfect for me, or for my bank account, or for my retirement. I tried to talk to her again, but it was obvious that it wouldn't work. She was angry and frustrated, and nothing I said would get through to her. At that moment, tired of trying to keep calm, I lost my temper. I told her that if this meeting was to make me feel guilty, to make me give her money, she was doing it all wrong. That money is gone, that money disappeared completely for her. The best thing she can do now is to pay what she owes. I hope her perfect wedding was worth it, because if I had to judge it by what I saw, I would say no. She tried to make me feel guilty, begging me not to leave her at that moment. She kept saying that I was her mother, but at that point, I had already reached my limit. I grabbed my bag and left. but not before taking a bag with what I thought were my things. I took it, and she didn't say anything, so I took it with me. When I got home, I confirmed that they were my things, but not all of them. The worst thing was that I couldn't have my coffee, let alone sandwiches, but I wasn't in the mood after that meeting with her. Date 3. A few days after my meeting with Luna, Lawrence contacted me. He called and explained that Jackson had been in touch with him. Jackson was asking for some money to help cover part of the debt to give him some breathing space. Jackson had always been somewhat proud and independent, so asking his father for help seemed desperate at this point, but if it's come to that, then they must be in trouble. Luna doesn't agree with Jackson accepting money from his father because she thinks it's all my fault and I should be the one to solve this. This is what her son told Lawrence, and he told him to keep it a secret so Luna wouldn't find out. They haven't been married for a year, and Luna has already put Jackson in a difficult situation, but the weight of their debt is clearly starting to crush them both. In the end, Jackson decided to borrow some money from Lawrence to reduce his debt a little. It's not a large amount, just enough so that the interest isn't huge. However, Luna has no idea what her husband has done. Lawrence insisted that Luna must not find out, and asked me to keep it a secret. I agreed, knowing it wasn't my place to tell her anything. The last thing I want is to complicate things even more, especially with all the tension there already is. After Lawrence told me, I told him about the incident in the cafe. He was upset about how things had turned out between us, but he understood why I made the decision I did. It wasn't easy for him either. He's known Luna since she was a baby. He loved her very much, and he certainly doesn't want to see her suffer, but he also knows, as I do, that we can't keep enabling his behavior. In Jackson's case, it's different, since he's not my son to begin with. I'm not going to tell Lawrence how to use his money or how to treat his son. If he wants to help him financially, he's free to do so. Besides, Jackson seems trapped in this marriage now because he never 100% agreed to such an extravagant wedding. Date 4. Many people have been curious about whether Lawrence and I ever had a romantic relationship. I want to clarify that Lawrence and I never dated. We have known each other for many years, and he has always been like a brother to me. We were part of the same close group of friends, and we always supported each other. Our families were also close, which meant that we spent a lot of time together. He has been a great support in my life. Luna's father, my husband, passed away when she was only 5 years old. Everything changed for us. Suddenly, I had to raise Luna alone, which made me feel terrified for the first few years. Lawrence immediately offered his help. He acted as if we were family, even though we weren't blood relatives. He supported me in many ways, emotionally and even financially when things got tough. Lawrence was there for me in many ways, but never romantically or sexually, if that's what you're wondering. Luna suffered greatly from the loss of her father, and being a single mother was sometimes too much for me. Lawrence supported us in any way he could. He helped guide Luna as she grew up, providing her with the male role model she needed, even if he wasn't her biological father. Luna looked up to him and trusted him, and he treated her as if she were his own daughter. I am so grateful for everything Lawrence did for us during that time, and it only made our connection as siblings stronger. Without him, I honestly don't know how I would have coped. Lawrence is family to me. Date 5. A few weeks ago, I received a voicemail from Jackson that surprised me. He apologized for everything that had gone wrong between us, particularly in relation to Luna. He seemed genuinely upset. He felt responsible for letting things get out of hand. At first, I hesitated to call him back because I was still angry and hurt by Luna's actions, and I wasn't sure if it was the right thing to talk to Jackson. However, I was trying to take responsibility for the situation, which is much more than Luna has done, so I decided to call him. During our conversation, Jackson didn't ask me for anything, except for a chance to apologize. He acknowledged that he let Luna take control of the wedding plans, and admitted that he should have intervened earlier. I don't regret saying that I consider him a great son-in-law. We all make mistakes, but it's good to be able to rectify them. And just as I rectified mine with my daughter, by not giving her my money after everything that happened, I think he is doing the same by making up for the problems of not setting a limit for his wife. And he's not only doing it on a financial level, working and striving to pay off his debts, albeit with Lauren's help, but also by mending the bridges that my daughter has destroyed. I really appreciate that he made that gesture to me, because he could just as easily take his wife's side and hate me like she does. Instead, he apologized, and we had a heart-to-heart. Like Lauren's, I have always seen Jackson as a son, especially when his mother left them. So yes, it meant a lot to me. Update 6. Jackson's changes did not come alone. He has made many changes in his life, including divorcing my daughter. He has reached a point of no return for him, and I am not going to say that he should stay in that marriage just because it is my daughter. He felt that the relationship couldn't work anymore, and he filed the papers. Neither Lawrence nor I knew a little detail, because prior to the wedding we didn't have the best relationship with them, but he must have learned something from his father, because he asked Luna to sign a prenuptial agreement before getting married. It's not that Jackson had a lot of money, nor that they now have a lot left to divide after the massive debt they took on, but it's still curious. Maybe Jackson was just being cautious, knowing that he might one day inherit his father's money, so he took that route. I've already said it won't make a difference in this divorce, but it never hurts to be safe. He has also been working harder than he did before, and has not only been paying his share of the debt, but has also started to pay his father back for his help. He has also found another job, one that pays better, so his life is slowly improving. Although the common denominator here is humility and hard work. I can only dream that Luna would do something like that for me, because even in the midst of this divorce, she still won't talk to me because she thinks this is all my fault. Including the divorce. My responsibility to her ended when she became an adult, and my role as a mother is only to advise her. I advised her to lower her expectations of the wedding, and as an adult she made a child's decision, to eat all the sweets. Which in this case was to have her Disney princess-style wedding. Not all the princesses in those stories are good, and not all of them end with a happy ending. Maybe Luna is one of them. Or maybe she has her hero's journey and becomes one of the protagonists. Of course, her story is different, because I can't remember a Disney movie where the princess owes money to loan sharks.